Why don't you ever criticize China? Have you received help from China in your political campaigns too?
Stephen Guilbeault is in hot water for more than one reason. You see, he got sued by Rebel News because he blocked them on Twitter. This is a government minister blocking someone because he doesn't like what they have to say. What a childish thing to do. So Rebel News sued him for $20,000. They won. Ezra from Rebel News heckles and humiliates Guilbeault walking down the street today. It's a beautiful thing. Not only that, Guilbeault announced a plastics registry system in Canada, so people, companies using plastic have to register what type of plastic they're using. If we didn't have enough problems in this country already, putting more burden on businesses is not the thing that should be done right now. So let's jump into this here. First, so the plastics registry thing here we've got from Cat Canada says Liberals announce mandatory federal plastics registry. Companies will be expected to track every piece of plastic throughout its life cycle or face major fines. The Liberal government on the side of Canadian businesses as usual. Speaking of Canadian businesses in trouble, since doctors were told to have corporations as their way for their retirement because they're not run as a small business. They don't get small business grants. This is going back decades ago. Now you've got a bunch of doctors who are getting dinged with these new capital gains, and a lot of them are going to be shutting down their practices or leaving or doing other jobs. That's another video, and that's another story to be told. Now for Ezra and the Rebel News, here's the lawsuit.
The lawsuit names Stephen Guilbeault. He claims it was a personal Twitter account. That's what he said. And he personally is bound by the court order to keep us unbanned for the rest of his career. Him personally. But look who paid the $20,000 for him. Look at the check we received this morning.
Yeah, the taxpayers.
Hang on. It was Guilbeault who blocked us. It was Guilbeault who claimed it was his personal account, not the government account. It was Guilbeault who fought for 2.5 years, foisting the cost on taxpayers for his lawyers. It was Guilbeault who was ordered to pay. But look at the check. Look how the money came. Guilbeault didn't pay a cent. You did. Taxpayers did. Look at that check. It's from the government of Canada.
This is disgraceful, man. To sum this up, Guilbeault spent $250,000 of our tax dollars on lawyers, then had our tax dollars spent to pay Rebel News. This is so stupid. Guilbeault is such a waste of everything. One of the main supporting pieces of evidence here, because Guilbeault was claiming that it was his personal Twitter account, thus he's allowed to block people. Ezra points out here this silver check mark is a government check mark. Only government people get this check mark on their account. Obviously, he fought that, he lost, and he lost in court. So Stephen Guilbeault, let's not forget who this guy is.
Greenpeace is climbing the world's tallest building today to tell the world not to be fooled by the Liberal government. As the talk on climate change starts, we want to tell the world that the Bush and Canadian administration are out to kill the Kyoto Protocol.
Yeah, that didn't age well there, Guilbeault.
To tell the world not to be fooled by the Liberal government. Not to be fooled by the Liberal government.
So now you know what's going on with that. Let's just set up the plastics bit and then I'll show you guys the clip. So here he is. Guilbeault announced a plastic registry, which apparently is the greatest thing the Liberals have done since they got in power.
It's Earth Day, which is this year's theme, Planet versus Plastic, calling on us for an ambitious change by 2040. Canada's working hard to walk the walk on plastic waste reduction. We helped to launch the Ocean Plastic Charter during Canada's 2018 G7 presidency. We introduced a domestic ban on harmful single-use plastics. We're implementing a comprehensive plan to reduce plastic waste and pollution. And today, I'm excited to announce a new federal plastic registry, which will increase transparency and help make producers responsible. Today's Earth Day.
On the face value of this, like, it's not a bad thing to be, focusing on plastic. A registry just burdens our small businesses even more in a time when we don't need this. This is something to do when our country is thriving and we're just crushing it at all levels. Sure, then maybe let's look at a plastic registry and maybe ban certain plastics, whatever it may be, get plastics out of the ocean like they're doing with that ocean cleanup, all those initiatives. But we need to get back to the basics here.
So I think I would venture to qualify our action in Canada as we've started putting in place measures, but we have lots more to do. And I think that the support by Canadians for what is happening here is tremendous. I mean, the announcement that our government made in 2019 on banning single-use plastic remains, if not the most popular announcement that we've done since 2015, certainly one of the most popular announcement in terms of the public support for it. So I think that the public wants us to take action to fight plastic pollution.
Public wants you to cut the carbon tax and stop wasting our money on stupid things like lawsuits that you should, like, over a Twitter account. Why is he dressed like a transgender flag? Like, what is it? Just, there's too many questions with this guy.
If you really cared about Canadians and the planet, you would cancel next week's radical international plastics banning meeting.
Guilbeault here is approached on the street by Ezra from Rebel News. They've got multiple cameras. This is well produced, man.
Minister Guilbeault, you lost a court case to me, and the judge ordered you to pay $20,000, but instead of paying it yourself, you had taxpayers pay for it. Why? Minister Guilbeault, the court ordered you to pay me $20,000, but you foisted that on taxpayers instead.
Look at this schmuck. Answer the question.
You illegally blocked me on Twitter. You fought for 2 years. You used $250,000 in taxpayers' money, and then you stiffed the taxpayer and foisted the bill on them. Why did you do that?
He's just getting hounded, man.
Why don't you think you have to answer for $20,000 of legal bills that you send to the taxpayer to pay your fine?
There's like 5 cameras.
Why aren't you talking about it? You had a lot to say in court. You claimed that your Twitter account was a personal account. If that's the case, why didn't you pay the fine personally?
This is amazing.
Do you disrespect taxpayers, Mr. Guilbeault? Sure seems that way. Hey, you're on the board of a Chinese agency, a Chinese government agency for the environment. How is that not a conflict of interest, given that you're in the Canadian cabinet?
This is so good, man.
Is that why you never criticize China, the world's largest producer of plastic?
He's just wanting to get out of there so fast.
Why are they assaulting me, sir? Why don't you ever criticize China? Have you received help from China in your political campaigns too? China refuses to sign the anti-plastics treaty. Why are you forcing that on Canadians?
This is amazing.
What does that mean, the registry, Mr. Guilbeault? What do you mean by it? What is the cost that the organization and taxpayer will need to pay for your registry?
Run away!
Escape.
Run away!
He's just wanting to escape at this point. Yep. Not a single answer, man. What a weak little man.
Stephen Guilbeault, on the streets of Ottawa, I was running with my heavy backpack, had a few questions for him. He didn't want to answer. We'll have more later.
That was absolutely legendary, Ezra. That thank you for that today. I think Canadians needed that. That's a great laugh right there. Going back to the plastics nonsense.
Minister Guilbeault, I'm wondering if you could just walk us through how you expect this registry to work, in particular, how you think companies will be able to track the plastic they produce all the way to its end use.
What we're aiming to do with this registry is to ensure that there's more transparency in Canada on the production and use of plastics. It is hard to tackle a problem if you don't know what it is, where it is, what's being produced. How could we fight climate change if we didn't have annual greenhouse gas inventories looking at what different industries are producing in terms of GHG? Are they reducing? Are they increasing? I think you can think of the plastic registry the same way one would think about our national inventory reports.
How do you fight homelessness in Canada when you don't spend a dime on it and you don't care about the people in the streets? It's a mystery.
Number one, how will industry will do it? The government of Canada, by and large, our regulatory approach tends to give objectives to industry and then let them figure out. And that's
certainly what they've told us. Don't be prescriptive about how you do regulations. Tell us the goals you want us to achieve, and we'll figure it out. We know how to do that. So how will the companies go about? They know what kind of plastic they're producing. They know who they're selling it to. They know what happens to this plastic. So it's just a matter of putting it together and making it accessible to the public, to scientists, researchers, NGOs who will be able to track and follow what is happening with plastic production and plastic use in Canada.
You're just making it more expensive for businesses, man. We already have record numbers of companies going bankrupt. Why would you make it even harder for Canadians? I wonder. It's almost like they're planning this, like they want it to be bad for us.
We can drive momentum by taking action at home. That's why today, on Earth Day, I'm pleased to announce the release of the Federal Plastics Registry. This important demonstration of Canada's commitment to end pollution and build a circular economy. The registry will require plastic producers to take more responsibility for the plastic they put.
It's all the same nonsense here. Guilbeault has no contribution to this government that has been of any value to any Canadian ever. He is worthless. Completely worthless, this man. Next up, we got an interview with Vasi.
I'm glad you brought up the ban that your government brought in, because I did want to ask you if the recent federal court decision of late last year has that sort of, essentially ruled that something cabinet had decided on that underpinned that ban was constituted overreach. Has that undermined your negotiating position at these meetings?
Plastics man last year.
Actually, Vashi, the federal court judge didn't rule that it was federal overreach. They said that judge said that there was, in her view, there wasn't enough scientific evidence to talk about plastics as toxic products. And I respectfully disagree with that federal court judge, which is why we've appealed with the Federal Court of Appeal, and we've asked for a stay of that ruling. So the regulation still applies. And I've never in my career as an environmentalist heard from so many scientists since that ruling came out that have said, name the place, name the time, I will come and testify to any judge, to any body of parliament or whoever about the toxicity of plastics on the environment. The toxicity.
In his career as an environmentalist, that's not even a career, man. Sure, if you're doing stuff that's specifically related to something, logging or mining or whatever, but just being a sponge that soaks up all of our money is not a job, man.
So we're confident that we will be able to win that appeal in the federal court. But that's, we won't ban our way out of plastic pollution. We can't recycle our way out of plastic pollution. We have to adopt a number of different solutions for.
Nobody wants plastic in the rivers and the water, etc. That's one problem. Another problem is people can't afford food. How about working on that one, buddy? So we've jumped over to X now because there's no other juicy nuggets in that interview. And I found this. This is at the plastics panel that Stephen Guilbeault's talking about his registry. Check this out. This is once again Ezra from Rebel News.
Ezra Levant for Rebel News. And I'd like to thank the UN for accrediting a citizen journalist outlet like us. Mr. Guilbeault, according to the Globe and Mail, you serve on the China Council for International Cooperation on Environment and Development, which is a government agency controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Is that a conflict of interest with your role as a Canadian cabinet minister? And is it perhaps why you have really been gentle on China, even though it is by far the world's largest polluter, including with plastics pollution? Thanks again for letting me ask that question.
The Canada-China Council is an organization that has been in existence since, from memory, 1971 or 1972, and a succession of environment ministers from all colors and stripes, including under Stephen Harper. A number of environment ministers sat on this organization. It is a partnership where we exchange information on environmental issues, and we work together to develop public policies that are implemented in China to tackle a number of the things that we're talking about here.
That's a gross conflict of interest. We all know it. Yeah, no wonder he hasn't mentioned China once regarding their pollution levels. We're going to end this video on a positive note with this clip here. Pierre Poilievre was driving through on the East Coast and he knew about the protesters, the carbon tax protesters that have been out there for now 23 days, 24 days. And he knew about them, so he decided to pull over. He said, hey, I want to go talk to these people. And he just sits down with the people that have been out there for nearly a month. Would Justin Trudeau ever do this? No. Not even when he was campaigning to be prime minister would he do this. Like, Justin Trudeau doesn't care about anyone but himself. But Poilievre, he's right in here talking with these people and getting, the lowdown of how they're feeling and what's going on.
Show where I sleep.
Oh, where do you guys get a shower? Down here. You guys get a shower?
Yeah, a big shower.
Yeah. This is where I sleep.
I think you're getting a tan, boys. I'm getting a tan.
You are getting a tan.
Yeah, man.
So you guys are here 24/7?
It was had a couple of good days, but.
And so when I ask the tax, then you guys are going to be able to go home.
Right on.
Yeah.
As soon as I
Can I get a picture of you beside that?
We wouldn't stand in front of something else.
You don't want to get them going. How about from the front of it?
Have you seen
How about
you see what I do in the House of Commons every day?
We see him kind of answer any questions that we see.
Who is this?
He wants a picture from the F. Trudeau flag.
Yeah,
Thanks for all you do.
Actually speaks words to just stopping him right. You never thought that you would see anything like this.
Yeah. Like I said, there's an outbreak of common sense across Canada.
What's that word again?
Common sense. We're dusting off that word.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's been gone for a long time.
I know.
Oh, God bless you, man, for stopping.
We're going to axe the tax. It's going
Yeah.
to happen. And it's going to be in part because you guys stood up and fought back.
Yeah.
People have had enough. They've been told to sit down and shut up and pay us for too long.
Yeah.
And that's going to end.
Wow. Well, we can do another 23 days, so. Yeah, man.
We need a
Well, if we have to stay here till November, I'm staying. My boots are playing.
good old-fashioned Canadian tax revolt.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right on, guys.
Right on.
Keep it up. And let's bring it home.
Yeah, that's
Thank
right.
you.
Hey, thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Hands on.
Pierre's just like a real down-to-earth, real guy. He's not like Trudeau, a trust fund baby. Like, Trudeau would never, bump knuckles with someone. He would probably be like, "Ooh, I don't want to touch your knuckles." Ooh. Like, he's just a gross little pathetic man. Where Pierre's just like a normal guy. I'm curious if this group will continue to stay out there month after month, because Trudeau's not going to do anything. He's not going to get rid of the tax. Pierre's going to have to get rid of the tax. There's a process of it that has to go through Parliament there, and I think it takes a month. So if he gets in the end of October, basically the tax would be axed by December for Christmas 2025, right? So that's when we're looking that the tax will be gone, but then we still have a runway after that where the prices start coming down, and there's all these other problems that have to be fixed. We're going to be in a much worse state by that time, a year and a half from now, because Trudeau still has a year and a half to keep destroying Canada at full speed here. So buckle up and try to prepare as best as you can, whether that's your finances or any other ways you can save money, or just any possible way that Trudeau is affecting you, whether that's, say, the doctors now that are thinking of closing down their businesses because all their money's in corporations and now they're getting taxed more, and they're thinking, oh, maybe we just go do some other jobs, or we go do this, because doctors are well-educated people. They don't have to be doctors. We have a shortage of doctors, and what does Trudeau do? Oh, let's just push out the doctors. So be sure to join the family here, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. We'll keep fighting for freedom. I'll see you guys in the next one.